The US and Israeli military strikes have avoided the infrastructure in Iran. The videos that we're getting regarding the some fuel being burned, that is, a lot of people are using that as a way to suggest that the infrastructure is being targeted right now. So first of all, immediately after we saw the videos, the IDF put out explanation. First of all, that was not oil or gas. It was specifically it was processed like fuel, right? And it was something. It was a the IDF put out a statement saying that this was specifically being used by IRGC to carry out their operations. That's what they took it. And apparently, President Trump was not happy with that strike. I don't know if that report is accurate or not, but President Trump is not very happy. To me, this shows how much Israelis and Americans care about the Iranians' view of these military operations, given that the IDF quickly came out and provided an explanation for why they did it, and also President Trump coming out and saying like that was not a strike. That's like we could argue over the details of where was a good thing, wasn't a good thing, who's right, who's wrong, but this is like the level of the fact that this is even a discussion because the this is like a very small part of like the fuel of the Iran, right? Like this is not a major part of the oil and gas industry of Iran. But given how much over this one strike, people are making such a big deal about it. I mean, I, I'm glad that they're making a big deal about it, but it shows how careful they're trying to be, right? The fact that this is even a discussion. I think it looks really bad because, like, to some people, because the flames are huge, right? But also, it's not about losing the access. It's not just about maybe like losing access to fuel by average Iranian people. It's also that it was like we have black rain. The pollution coming out of that, like a lot of people are breathing that in, and the fact that it was, I don't know what it did to the rain, but it was raining back on Iranian people. So all of that is, we have to understand that we also are fighting a narrative battle. Like this is also information warfare. So even if it's makes sense from a military perspective that it's a strategic hit, flames like that and I don't know, black rain and stuff like that, that really adds to the other side. So maybe the reason why President Trump doesn't like that is because it just looks bad on camera, and it provides political ammunition to people in Washington D.C. to be like, what the hell are you doing? This doesn't look targeted. This looks like a much bigger deal than what we were led to believe that this is going to look like. So in Israel, that's not that much of a concern because it seems like in Israel, more people are in support of these military operations. But because in United States, President Trump doesn't enjoy as much of his support as the government in Israel from the Israeli people, at least with regards to these military operation. So I think maybe President Trump needs to also be careful about the how this looks rather than how strategic the target is. So maybe that's why this was a concern, that this just look, it just looked like, it looked like it looked like apocalyptic, or so. That's the type of imagery that really provides ammunition to people who want to attack the isolationists on the left and right, who want to basically put pressure on President Trump to stop these military operations. Images, so that might be so. And also with regards to other, you're asking about the Iranian people, what how they're dealing with. So most of what we're getting is in support for of these military operations to continue. One issue that we're having is that we now have more of the IRGC going into residential buildings, right, and operating within residential buildings, and they on purpose are choosing the most populated areas. So you could see more civilians being taken out, right? Like because of the IRGC just making it very difficult for them to be targeted without civilians. So this is going to be obviously the civilians are not targeted, but we might expect more civilian casualties as IRGC is getting more desperate to use human shields. Another thing that we're seeing is that the Islamic Republic is, a lot of people are reporting that when they go to the bank, they they're not giving their money, like they're going to the ATMs and they're asking for cash, and the banks are just basically, they have very limited cash available to them or not at all. So it's becoming, I don't have exact reports of what is that, how is that affecting the Iranian people, but I can imagine things are getting very difficult. uh, and this is why I mentioned right before, like, if you guys remember, just a day before these military operations, I was on the Persian channel and here and everywhere else telling Iranian people three things, four things actually, right? I told them to tape their windows. I told them to fill up their tanks and their cars. I told them to have cash on hand, go and get cash on hand because cash might not be available soon. And I told them to take their kids out of school, make sure their kids are not going to school, right? So, but they, obviously, our information is very limited because the internet is also very limited right now inside Iran. But I don't know. Did I answer your question?
You did, you did. So there's no shortages in stores and stuff like that. I hope
So,
not
I
more
mean,
than
there,
before.
I can imagine being short. So the way that we talk about shortage in Iran is not like, I don't know, like Darfur or somewhere like that, right? Shortage is prices will become so high that some people will not be able to buy it. So shortage means that less supply means higher prices. So it's not like the food is not there. The food is becomes the food and other service and other goods will become limited enough for less people to be able to afford it. That's how shortages work. But yes, I could expect that whatever shortages we had before, it is much higher right now. That's what I would expect.
I was worried that perhaps some places don't have access. So in that way, there could be shortages like Darfur. So if you're saying there's no shortages like Darfur, then it's a good thing. It's
Well, the thing
no,
is
it's
that
not a good thing
the
that the prices
people,
go up.
yeah, I mean, here's the thing: there are people who we don't hear from a lot, and we because they have been living in a level of poverty that you don't even see them on the internet, and we don't usually hear from them, right? So I'm assuming whatever conditions those people had in Iran is now worse, right? But we usually hear from a different class of people, and so we have the middle class being poor, right? But the poor people are living in even worse conditions. That's how it usually happens. So everyone just goes like lower than what they were before. So I think that if we don't win soon, the economic condition in Iran is going to become so devastating. But if that happens, it also makes it more likely that the Iranian people will not let this government survive, right? If the situation gets really, really, really horrible. All right. Okay. So let's move on. Thank you, Ezekiel. Good question. Thank you for caring. The fact that you asked that question shows the how much it's you have how big of a heart you have. So I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have Ali Samani.
Hi, Armin. We've been hearing for a little while now that they haven't hit the regime as hard as they possibly can. And I was wondering, in your opinion, what that could look like when they do hit them really hard. Do you think it's going to be more of the same airstrikes and targeting? Or do you think it could be them going in and getting their uranium out?
Okay, so my understanding, and this is something that maybe Jeffrey could add on, could help us out with. My understanding is that when it comes to offensive missiles of United States and Israel, there's no shortage. So you guys, I think, might have heard a lot of people talking about Americans running out of ammunition, and also the countries, the partner countries in the region running out of ammunitions. They are specifically talking about interception missiles, right? Which the number that they went through was really high. But a lot of people are thinking about this linear in a linear way, as if they're going to continue burning through their intercept missiles in the same rate, not taking into account that the launchers of the Islamic Republic have, and the missiles that they have available for shooting, immediately became were taken out to a point that they're now shooting so many less missiles than they begin with, and actually the number of missiles that they're able to shoot at is much lower than, even from the beginning it was much lower than people anticipated. So the understanding is that the you're not going to burn through these, you know, interception missiles as fast as you started with, because you only needed that at the beginning of the military operation, and eventually, the Islamic Republic is not going to be able to, as we saw, not going to be able to, it's not they're not going to be needed as much. So that's what the media is talking about, like, oh my god, we're running out of ammunition and running out of ammunition. They're not, right? But when it comes to offensive, ammunition, they're really good. Like, they could go on for as long as they need to, right? So everything that we have seen so far was with the Islamic Republic having some deterring capability with their missiles, and maybe originally with some of their air defense that is not there anymore, right? So without them, and the missile and them being able to launch missiles has already, so that while they were able to do that, threatening all these countries around Iran with their missiles, then United States and Israel had to put a lot of their resources and attention in defending, to defend themselves and their allies. However, once we finish that phase, then they could, given that they have complete air dominance over Iran's airspace, and given that the Islamic Republic is not going to be able to threaten the countries in the region as much, then more of the focus is going to switch towards just going on attack mode. And the timing is also perfect, because we're seeing more signals from the Islamic Republic that they don't want to surrender. So many people who were on the no kill list because they were there for surrendering are going to be removed eventually from the no kill list, and United States is going to allow Israel for them to be taken out. I assume there are some people on United States no kill list because they're hoping that somebody at some point will surrender to make this all cheaper, but they don't seem to. The fact that they chose Mujtaba Khamenei as the next supreme leader is a signal that we're all in. We're not going to surrender, which is actually good for us, because that means that the destruction of the Islamic Republic will be complete, right? So I assume that with the defensive abilities, with the deterrence abilities of the Islamic Republic being lowering, and options for surrendering being removed from the table, then I'm assuming, and given that also that the United States doesn't lack anything when it comes to offensive ammunition, I'm assuming that they might, just like what we see so far, might be nothing compared to what's about to come. But I don't know. Jeffrey might actually have a better answer to this. So Jeffrey, go ahead.
So all good points. I'm going to touch on the what seems to be the main point that you brought up, which is a very good point, which is so just the ability of the mullah regime's ability to launch direct strikes out of Iran at its surrounding neighbors is indeed being reduced. One is that one of the main focus of the initial strike, preemptive strike, went after their transport electro launchers and or missile cities, underground missile cities and launch facilities. And that's because it was very clear that the Mullah regime was getting ready to launch a mass strike against Israel and everybody else in the region via all their ballistic missiles and drones, ballistic missiles that were upgraded thanks to the Chinese Communist Party providing, large mixers to upgrade liquid fuel ballistic missiles into ones that are solid fuel, which means they can be launched ready to go. Plus, the tempo is much higher, right? It's about 3 to 5 times as high as a liquid-based ballistic missile. So that being said, so the mass and tempo has been reduced thanks to the initial strike that suppressed mullah retaliatory capability and follow-up operations that are hunting down the remaining tells and or long range, like Shahed drone launch facilities. As far as long range strike munitions and or interceptors, yeah, that's a concern to be sure. That said, it would have been we had to strike first to reduce the amount that the Mullah regime could launch in the air that they were getting ready to do. Otherwise, we'd have lost a lot more interceptors to shoot down a much like larger initial strike as far as critical interceptors. I mean, that's an issue that said, again, we have to support the elimination, well, the initial strike and or elimination of the Mullah regime, because if we did not do that, we would have spent a lot more interceptors in a non-suppressed Mullah capability. As far as long-range strike munitions, again, legitimate concern. That said, because now we have not only superiority, supremacy over Iran, we now can bring in things like B-52s, B-2s, and other strike aircraft that are not using long-range strike munitions and can use things like, brilliant guided regular bombs that are upgraded with like GPS guidance. That means we now can service targets without disproportionately using long-range strike munitions, and that's a good thing. The point is, you have two essentially options, right? You could either not have struck the Mullah regime that was getting ready to do mass launches against Israel and our allies in the region, in which case we would have spent a hell of a lot more interceptors, had a lot more damage, and had all kinds of other things that would have happened, like uncontrolled spiraled escalation. Or we could have struck the Mullah regime preemptively, suppress a lot of that launch capability, which then brings down the amount of interceptors you'd have to use in the suppressed launch capability, and follow up those operations to eliminate that capability altogether. Forgive me, I got a little agita. So the net sum positive when you weigh those two is hit the Mullah regime and take out their capability. As far as like long range strike munitions, again, those are legitimate issues. It's better now that we follow up those operations, cleaning out the rest of the Mullah regime in Iran, both for U.S. interests, Israeli interests, and not the least of which is brave Iranian protesters' interests. Now, because of the initial strikes that took out, like did suppression of enemy air defense, so SEAD, right? Their integrated air and defense, air and missile defense has been obliterated. So now we don't really have to worry about holding those like kinds of non-stealth heavy aircraft being held at risk via, Russian and Chi-Com facilitated air defense missiles. So now they can just fly overhead and service targets with relatively a lot more cheaper gravity bombs that are upgraded with GPS guidance. So we don't have to worry about long range missions. The other part is, and this is one of the things I've been pushing, to leverage Ukraine's model, which is to use things like very cheaply constructed, albeit very capable, long range strike munitions, which now UAE is indeed doing. Right, they're actually coordinating with Ukrainian defense forces and mass producing things like Flamingo missiles. Flamingo missiles have a range.
Jeffrey, last point.
Yeah. So Flamingo missiles and or defensive drone swarms to shoot down Shaheds with a cost and productive exchange ratio that's in the defender's camp.
And I also heard the Ukrainians are getting involved in the fighting against the Shahed drones, which is amazing. They have a lot of experience on that.
That was the defensive drone.
So, yeah, that's amazing. Okay, so by the way, BT, I think we should read the list because a lot of people keep raising their hand, not knowing they're on the list.
Yes.
So I think
as I told you in the beginning, if your hand is on the list and you look over into the side chat, you will find that list and you will know that you are there because I will say something like, "Hey, gotcha." Next, we have Sabina.
Hi, thank you for, already answering the question about the oil fires. So I've been sharing video that, and stuff to try to combat the narrative against this rescue operation and to try to get people, on the side of supporting it. And I got some responses like, I've been, arguing with the people that are against the war, but then I got some responses that were like, we need to burn down all the mosques. And I guess I wasn't ready to respond to violent vigilantism, and I just, I wonder like how do you confront that? How do you steer them somewhere else? Steer their feelings constructively, and also, do we need to worry about the civilians in Iran a little more now that, like, some of the Arab countries are getting involved with, attacking Iran?
All right. So, with regards to the Iranian people burning mosques inside Iran, so and
But
what our
this is
stance
this
is.
is, this is
Let
in
me
this country. But people were talking about burning down the mosques in this country.
Iranians.
No, Americans.
Okay, okay. By who? The Iranians themselves or by Americans?
By Americans, like burning down the mosques in this country.
Oh, burning
Hey,
down the mosque inside America.
yeah.
Okay, well,
Well, I know how to
those are
respond
fucking
to the
retarded.
Iranians burning them down, but I mean that's a different story. But but people were talking about
Well,
burning them down here.
yeah, with those you call the police. Like, what the hell? Like, I don't even know if I wanted to have a discussion with that person. For if somebody is threatening to
Oh,
burn a mosque inside America, I will probably call the cops. on them.
okay. So report them,
Yeah,
in other words. Okay.
yeah. What? Yeah, I do want to mention about mosque burning inside Iran because I think it's valuable for us to have a good understanding of what we need to be supporting and among Iranian people, right? So, by the way, Sabina, I can hear your background if you don't mind.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Uh, yeah, no worries. All right, so guys, we have the revolution phase and then we have the post-revolution phase, right? So in the revolution phase inside Iran, mosques are used as a base of operations to kill the Iranian people by the IRGC and Basijis, right? Especially the government mosques, right? I mean, when you go to a mosque in Iran, the Basijis have their office, and Basijis are the Basij office is meant for, it's a suppression part of the mask, suppression of the Iranian people. And during the early January protests that we saw, the Islamic Republic killed tens of thousands of people. There were so many videos and observation of the shooting coming, people being shot at from the mosques, and also the troops coming out of the mosques to attack the Iranian people. So burning the mosques is completely justified, obviously, when they are a place for. That being said, obviously this does not include some of the beautiful historical mosques inside Iran that are part of the heritage of and our history, right? So for example, those beautiful mosques in Isfahan or like in Shiraz, we hope that like we could keep those for, for as our history, as our tourist destinations. Obviously we want to keep those, and honestly those are not even mosques in my opinion, because they're mostly tourist destination rather than mosques. So there's three types, right? We have mosques that are used for prayer and nothing else, mosques that are more of a tourist destination as part of the history, and then mosques that are part of military operations and suppressing and centers for suppressing the Iranian people. Okay, so this third one is the one that is fair game to burn down, right? And honestly, if you can't tell, you could also, if it's a private mosque or you don't know if this is like, if it's deemed to be a risk, then I think it's fair game as well, right? This is for the revolution phase. For the post-revolution phase in Iran, the strategy with regards to the mosques is, in my opinion, should be every single mosque or any other religious building like a Jose or like a Hosseiniye that has been used, that government money has been used to build it, should be taken away, because people's wealth, the Iranian wealth, has been used to build it. So any like mosques should be allowed, but it should be built with your own private money without any government assistance. Any mosque that has ever been, in my opinion, it's not that just going forward now you build mosques with your own private money. No, looking backwards as well, every single mosque that was built with government money should also be taken away, and maybe they could buy it back. Okay, so you might just wait until it's your turn to tell me what you disagree with, because now I'm wondering how could anybody disagree with the fact that mosques built by government by the people's money belongs to the people, and religion should be separated from government. So again, after the revolution, we have three types of mosques, right? So obviously all the mosques that are beautiful and are part of the history and part of like the ones especially in Isfahan or in Shiraz, those are the ones that, those are obviously belong should be turned into tourist destination, and the revenue from that needs to go to the people. Mosques that have been built using people's money, and any mosque that has been built privately completely without no government assistance could continue operating as before. And any Muslims who want to continue building mosques, they should only do it with private money. That's what I think. And if anybody outside of Iran comes out and says anything like, "Oh yeah, destroy all the mosques," meaning without considering which one of them, like without, like, just as a way to, I mean, if they're saying inside United States, I think I already responded to that. Like those they're not doing us any favor, right? If anybody in America says in support of these military operations against the Islamic Republic, we should go burn down mosques in America. Not only, first of all, call the police, that's a crime. Second of all, if they're successful, that would be the greatest damage to these military operations continuing. That would be one of the best ammunition you could give to the isolationists, especially on the left, against President Trump's military operations. And basically they are helping the isolationists figure out a way to stop these military operations against the Islamic Republic. So there's that. um did you hear some did I you had another question? I forgot the second question.
Yeah, I was asking, now that like the other Arab like Gulf states are getting involved in the war, are they going to be as careful as the United States and
Oh yeah,
Israel in not targeting civilians? And should we be worried about civilian casualties now that they're involved?
I don't think they're going to get involved willy-nilly without getting, like, I don't even know if they're going to get involved, because they don't have the coordination capability. I know Jordan has, because they have been doing this with the Israelis and Americans for a while, but I don't know if the rest of them have that infrastructure in place, that coordination availability in place. To, I mean, we saw three American fighter jets being taken out by the Kuwaiti air defense, right? So imagine if with that level of you know coordination, they want to get involved as well. That looks like messy. So I don't know if they want to get involved or not, but if they do get involved, obviously they're not going to be doing their own thing, and the Americans are going to be like, this is it's going to be with the leadership and the guidance and the entire framework that United States military has. So they're going to get integrated into that rather than them just going doing their own thing. That's my expectation. So, and obviously all the limitations that United States has as well. I mean, you can see even Israelis who just took out some of the fuel storage of the Islamic Republic. Americans were not, like President Trump didn't seem to be happy with that. So I can imagine other people would be even more monitored even more if they wanted to get involved. But I do want to hear from Samantha. Why were you disagreeing with me? Can you tell me exactly? Because I want to respond to the disagreement.
Like, that just seems so mean to say, like, "Oh, you have to give the mosque back," like, once it's, like, been given to the people to be used as a mosque. Like, if as long as anyone who wants to pray in the mosque is allowed to pray in the mosque, like, once it's already built, like, they should be allowed to
It's
keep
been
it as a
stolen.
mosque.
What do you mean? It's stolen money from the Iranian people. It hasn't been given to the people. It has been
How
taken from the
like,
people.
can anyone who wants to pray in the mosque pray in the mosque?
Okay. If I go steal someone's money and build something that now publicly some people are using it, now if we get justice and the person that has that money was taken away from them wants their money back, you can't be like, well, now people are using it, so we can't give that back to you. Like, what are you talking about? That was my money. You stole my money and you built something with it against my consent. So whatever you built now belongs to me. It was built with my money, right?
Like, I'm sorry, this sounds like you're are you, like, It sounds like one of those things where it's like, oh, like taxes are stealing. Like, no, like if it's being used for a public service, you know.
It's not a public service when it hasn't been done with the permission of the people. Taxes are not theft in governments, in places where the government is the will of the people and the people have elected political representatives to pass laws and tax them based on what the people have voted for, right? If the government is a reflection of the people and if the government is enforcing the will of the people, then taxation is not theft because it's a social contract between the government, between the state and the nation. The state is doing that with the permission of the nation. If you don't have that permission, then that is theft, especially because you're
Okay.
building things that, if it was a hospital, for example, that is something people would be using. If it's a park, that is something that people are using. But if it's a gazillion mosques that are empty because there's not much demand for it, other than the fact that the Islamic Republic uses them as a propaganda, we have so many, the mosques are empty in Iran because they have built so many mosques that people are not using. Samantha, we don't have a shortage of mosques. Okay, like 99% of these mosques, if they turn into something else, we will still have empty mosques. People are, it's not going to be like, oh my god, I want to pray but there's no mosque. If there's demand, there will be mosque. Trust me, there will be enough mosque for people to be able to go to pray. There's a mosque in every goddamn corner. The only utility the mosques have in Iran, and this is, they're famous for this, is their washroom. The only utility have, people go into mosque to use their washroom way more than actually praying inside the mosque.
Agree more, Armin. That's what we always use for. We just went to
Yeah.
mosque for toilet.
Yes, the mosques are basically public toilets. That's what they are. If you want to keep that part, that makes sense actually.
I mean, if it's like there's literally one in every corner, then okay, I guess I could see like, you know, cutting it down a little bit.
Okay.
But like,
If there's
you know,
if
if
there's demand, Samantha, if there's demand, when you have religious freedom, when there's demand for something, it will be built. It will exist. Okay, but it has to be built by the people who, when you want something, okay, when you want, and when you say public services, religious services should not be part of public services. This is what secularism is, right? So you say public services, that's a school, that's a hospital, okay, that's a
I think
public
that should
washroom.
include like religious
Re-
buildings. I think religious buildings, like
That's
everyone should have access to.
well, that's what you think. That's what you think. The Iranian people want secularism. Okay, so if you
But I think
ask,
you can be
you want,
secular and
but
that, like, you know, it's your choice
no, no,
whether
no,
or
no,
not
no.
to use them.
Samantha, let me finish. Let me finish. The Iranian people's understanding of secularism is that government does not build religious buildings. That's what the Iranian people want, and if that's what they want, that's what they would get.
Also, all this hatred that is teached in the mosque towards the Jews is still inside of the Quran. I don't understand Jews defending it,
So
but
no, that's a different conversation. But let's go back to the list, guys. Okay, so what's the list?
Next, we have Sam.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Nice to meet you. Hello. It's my first time here.
Welcome
speaking
to our
here.
community. Welcome to our group.
Thank you very much. We just had a siren here, so if there's a boom,
Oh,
I'm sorry for the boom.
well, aren't you supposed to be in a
So
bunker?
I don't have a bunker here where like it's on the street. I need to go to the street, so I don't really, never mind. It's okay.
Okay.
You know,
Wow.
yeah, whatever. I live alone with my dog, so whatever. Anyway, my question is, history tells us that war and regime change come with a heavy price. We know Iran is massive and diverse, with minority groups like the Kurds seeking independence. When looking at Iran's future, do you think withdrawing or reshaping the country's borders is a necessary price to pay? And could promising these groups their own nation be the essential motivator to get them to risk their lives and help bring down the IRGC?
Okay. So if the borders in Iran changes, you're going to have decades and decades of civil war and a bloodbath in the region that is going to be devastating, not just for the Iranian people, but also for every country in the region, including Israel. The chaos that will come from trying to change Iran's borders will basically make Iran and turn Iran into a failed state with years of chaos, and it will become the perfect hotbed for all sorts of new terrorist groups, especially ones that would be focusing on punishing Israel and United States for taking down the Islamic Republic. If you want, so we will go from a situation that we were getting a strong secular democracy inside Iran that will become an ally of Israel to actually making the conditions even worse for Israel. We will basically create so many everything that gave rise to groups like Hamas or Hezbollah. We will have 100 times more. Like, we will basically create a factory of those groups if you do that. Also, when you're saying promising those people their own country, which people are you talking about? Because the Iranian people, Iranian Kurds, Iranian Azeris, Iranian Baluchis, Iranian Gilakis, Iranian Lors, Iranian Bakhtiaris, they all want to be part of Iran, and they all would want to be very do things that I can't even mention to anybody who wants to challenge the border integrity of Iran. The Iranian people are very, very, very united on keeping Iran intact and defending Iran's borders. There is the groups that you're talking about, like the separatist groups. They do not have they're not popular in Iran. The Kurdish Iranians, they hate the Kurdish separatist groups. The Azeri Iranians, they hate the Turkish separatist groups. In fact, they themselves would be enough to crush any separatist groups who is trying to rise their movement again in their name. They're embarrassed by them. They constantly try to communicate to the world that this is not what they want. Kurdish Iranians, for example, are Iranian first, Iranian second, Iranian third, and their Kurdish identity is nothing compared to their strong national identity. And they all feel that they have a patriotic duty to defend the borders of Iran. Iraq, with all the chaos in Iraq is still intact. Iraq is still intact after years and years of chaos. Libya, after years of chaos, is still intact. Afghanistan, after years of chaos, is still intact. None of the borders of those countries changed, and none of them have the level of nationalism and patriotism and the sacredness that they have. The level of care that they have for the borders does not exist in those countries. For example, in Iraq, where Iraqi Kurds see themselves as Kurdish first, Iraqi second, or maybe not even Iraqi at all. So is the Shias and the Sunnis. They all have their own tribal identity, and we don't have as much of a. I mean, sadly to say, hopefully this will change. We don't have as much of a strong national identity and a sense of patriotism in Iraq. And after a decade of chaos in a country with not much patriotism and nationalism, after ISIS and after everything, Iraq is still intact and the borders have not changed. So if Iraq hasn't been divided into three countries after all of that, you think Iran, with that degree, like the Iranian people are the most united to protect Iran's borders. So you think Iran is going to get cut into pieces when Iraq didn't? It doesn't make any sense.
Next, we have Susanna.
Hello, good afternoon, my friends. Armin, I wanted to ask you about what you're hearing from our community in Iran. I mean, I know it's hard to get messages out, but I do know that messages are coming out. I want to hear about how morale is doing, because I'm not going to lie, the images coming out of Tehran this weekend were fucking scary. They're fucking scary.
Yeah.
And I'm really worried about the health consequences for the population after the strike on the oil depot. So that's part one. The other thing that I found very interesting was that Yair Lapid had a tweet where he was basically saying that Israel needs to focus on taking out various oil refineries, oil depots, whatever, what have you. And he referenced one specific island. And then Qasim and I can't, his is the one like Iranian name I can't say. Qasim Nejad. There we go.
Qasemi Nejad, yes.
Yes. He quote tweeted Yair Lapid to be like, yo, please don't do this. Don't do this. We don't need to do that. The oil refineries are one thing. If you want to paralyze the IRGC, just take out their tankers. because that's how they move it anywhere anyways. So I was wondering what your commentary was on that. And finally, I have some good news. And the other good news is I have another friend whose relative had been imprisoned in Evin since the 12-day war because she made like she was posting in support of Israel in the 12-day war. So she's been in prison for months before all this went down. She was just released. So
Wow.
yay, really, really
Amazing.
happy news. Okay, so that was the end of my
Do you know why? By the way, this is a good. Do you know why they're? Because I heard some other news about some prisoners being released. We know this is not because Islamic Republic all of a sudden became kind or something like that. But why are they releasing some prisoners? This is very interesting.
both of them were Baha'i and originally arrested and freaking kidnapped by the regime as part of a crackdown on the Baha'i community in general. So I don't know, maybe they're like, we got bigger fish to fry right now. I don't know. I have no idea, but that's
Maybe
the
they
only
need the
like,
room for more important security threats.
dude, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's also about
I haven't
signaling.
had
I
the-
just wanted to cut in and say that it's about signaling too. Like, oh yeah, look, we have been releasing some prisoners. We haven't executed them all. Like, so I think it's that part too. Then, yeah.
My guess is that they need the manpower and staff for people who are actually security threats right now. Somebody who's a Baha'i is arresting them is mostly like enforcing their own Islamic ideology, and they're like, okay, you're not a threat right now. Get out of here. We need this place for someone else. I think that would be the reason.
I mean, what's the point of demonizing a Baha'i when you have like actual Israeli strikes coming down on you? You know what I mean? Like, but that's besides the point.
Actually, that's a good point. No, that's a good point because Baha'is are accused of being Israeli spies. So, what is the point of just fakely like accusing somebody of as being an Israeli spies when you have Israelis basically killing you left and right? You have real Israelis attacking you right now, so fake Israelis could take a back seat. That's a good point. Yeah, right. Okay. So, yeah, with regards to the health concern, I mean, the few messages that is coming out of Iran that I'm getting, at least, I'm pretty sure some people are upset or concerned. I feel like there's always an example of everything, right? But from my connections, what I see is this is not enough. Like, what are you guys doing? Like, I saw a video of this woman going past a calendary and recording it and saying, you guys missed this one. Why is this one still standing? Right, guys, giving the address, like the woman was driving by recording the commentary, like the police station. It was like giving the address, recording, and giving with her own voice while he's driving, giving the address, like, guys, BB, like, what this is, like, you guys missed this one, please. Like, so a lot of Iranians are eager for this to escalate even more. And honestly, again, this might be my network of friends. Hellish apocalyptic images coming from Tehran, to them that's a sign of escalation and a sign that things are moving faster. And if you tell them, like, oh my god, your health, you're breathing this in, they're gonna be like, guys, we've been breathing in polluted air for the past couple of decades because of the type of oil that the Islamic Republic burns in its factories, and also the Bitcoin mining that they do, and the dirty fuel that they burn. So going over maybe 3 days of some more polluted air, if that's what's required to get rid of the Islamic Republic, you're like, oh, it's bad for your health. You're like, you know what's bad for your health? The Islamic Republic is bad for your health, right? So they're like, a lot of them are going to be like, yeah, we're willing to go through this again. But what I'm hearing is like, you guys are not hitting enough. I mean, the people I'm in touch with is like, hey, if there's an IRGC next to me, or IRGC in person next to me, and I'm there, and my family is next to me, strike us all out. If it takes him out, kill us all. If it means that he's going to die as well, they're willing to pay whatever price necessary to take out the Islamic Republic. At least those are the messages that I'm getting. Did I even answer your question?
What did you think about what he was saying to Yair Lapid?
Saeed Qasim-Najad. It's interesting because he's very close to Prince Reza Pahlavi, and he says certain things that seems to be more critical sometimes, even before, for example, these military operations started. He was posting messages by saying that, oh, if they don't attack, this is going to be really bad for relationships between Iranian people and Israel and United States. So he seemed to be, but then when it comes to Prince Reza Pahlavi himself, you saw that the messages were a lot less critical, right? So given how close he is to Princess of Pahlavi, I wonder that he puts some of the concerns there that are not the that need to maybe sometimes be said, but shouldn't be the model that the rest of us copy, because you don't hear those messages coming from Princess of Pahlavi. So I wonder if that's what his utility is right now, to say the, because some people might even criticize Princess of Pahlavi for why you didn't criticize this, why you didn't criticize that, right? So having somebody like that say that on the record might be a good way to have that on the record without actually having somebody as important as Princess of Pahlavi take a critical position against any of these operations.
But what's your opinion on the strikes on oil refineries, depots in general, either the one that happened or if they occur in the future?
And
I think the Israelis have really quickly. I'm going to say this and then we move on. Sorry, what?
I found the tweet that Susanna is talking about. If you want to reference it, and I put it in the chat.
Oh, okay. Can you post it? Yeah, thank you.
And I also confirmed that the translation is accurate.
Okay. Okay, so this is. Do you have Said Qasemi-Nejad's report response to this? And Israel must Israel. So Yair Lapid said Israel must destroy all of Iran's oil fields. Yeah, this is not good. All of it, oil field and energy industry. Where is this? On which island is this? That is on a specific island. So maybe if it's okay, I thought it was talking about Iran's all of their oil fields. If I don't know. If it's on a specific island, I don't know if this is going to be as devastating as I thought. I have to look and see. That is what will cripple Iran's economy and topple the regime. This war must end when the regime in Iran has fallen. The nuclear facilities have been destroyed. All of the ballistic missile industry has been destroyed, and Hezbollah has been destroyed in Lebanon. Okay, so again, obviously, we prefer for the Islamic Republic to fall without any of these damages to Iran's energy, so that we have this ready for us to rebuild after the war is over. I guess with regards to whether this is a good idea or not a good idea, depends if it's necessary. If it's necessary, we're for it. If it's not necessary, obviously we prefer for those to be spared. I don't think we have enough intelligence to be able to decide here whether that's necessary. And again, that was seems to be the oil fields in a specific island. It's not talking about taking out all of the oil fields. Again, if necessary, then yes. If not, then no. I think we're not in a position to judge. But no, I know for a fact that if it's necessary, the Iranian people, the vast majority of the Iranian people, would be for it. We need to go. So Jeffrey, if you want to say, because we took a long time, if you want to say just like 30 seconds, if you can. Yeah.
So Charg Island is actually where the mullah regime, it constitutes 95% of the mullah regime's oil exports that pass through that island. It has large storage tanks. And as far as like the Israelis striking the oil production, they're not doing it to punish Iranian people. It's designed to sit there and economically choke out the mullah regime from its only resource it can use to leverage or bribe Putin's criminalized counterintelligence state or the Chinese Communist Party to continue their support and thereby bring a quicker conclusion to this war and minimize the amount of pain that the mullah regime is going to try to inflict upon the Iranian people, and all of which would be rebuilt very quickly after the mullah regime is gone.
All right. So I looked at the island in Persian to see what this is. Okay. So Jazireh Kharg, and this is where it is. Okay. Okay, so thank you, Jeffrey. Let's move on.
There's rumors that the U.S. troops are about to seize this island, but I don't know if that has any credibility. But it's been floating around.
Yeah, it would make sense if they do that, honestly. Yeah.
Okay,
All right.
next
So let's continue.
we have Sherry.
Oh yeah, somebody's saying, is there a list? Yeah, the way to get added to the list, guys, is there's a button at the bottom of your screen. It's a smiley face. If you click on it, and you could raise your hand like this. And guys, after I leave, then there's no time limit or anything like that. And after I leave, the conversation continues without me, and you guys could have the conversation for hours with no time limits or anything like that.
Okay, so next Ali F.
Thank you, Armin. I have just two questions. When it comes to instilling the transitional government, is there any more, I would say, like either legal or political battle that Reza Pahlavi still has to go forward with providing the transitional government? There's That's my first question. And my last question is regarding the uranium. President Trump was asked about, is there any chance we would use US troops to remove and destroy the uranium? My question is, do you know if that's, is that the only way that that can be completed, or is there a way of using strikes to destroy the uranium?
Okay, so regarding the transitional government after the Islamic Republic falls, the transitional government led by Prince Reza Pahlavi, you're asking me if there's any legal or political battles. So legal battles, I don't know which legal, because the laws, everything, all the laws under the Islamic Republic, the Constitution of the Islamic Republic, all of that is up in the air, right? The only laws that will continue operating, that continue being used while the transitional government is in place, is the civil laws that is being used for the daily affairs until we find replacements for that. So there is no legal, given that the Islamic Republic's constitution will be thrown out the window on day one, on second one, there's the legal battle, like there is no legal framework, that we're building a new legal framework, right? So with the transitional government will come with its own legal framework for the transitional period until we actually have a representative of the Iranian people to basically write our new laws, the constitution, and then the lower laws after
Mhm.
that, right? So the battle that we have is mostly political, but also a security battle, like a military battle, right? So
Mhm.
the number one concern, when it comes to political, there is no political alternative to Prince Reza Pahlavi, and the Iranian people have already called out his name, and they have bled for his name, and there is nobody, once Iran is free, there's nobody that could challenge Prince Reza Pahlavi politically. So the challenge will mostly be a security challenge, right? So there are people who would want to challenge, given that the Iranian people would not support. So given that people who want to challenge Princess Sherry, can you mute your, okay, Sherry, can you mute your microphone? I'm speaking here. Thank you.
You were
Oh
talking
my
about
God.
the political battle. My question was, I guess for me, was more about like the purpose of delivering the transitional government plans to Congress. I guess that is to build that political. Yeah, I kind of get what you're saying.
Wait, what Congress you're talking about? The U.S. What Congress you're talking about? Ali, I don't understand your questions. Ali, are you there? Unmute yourself. Amazing. Now he's not unmuting himself. Did he just leave? He just leave. So okay, so what I was saying is that so given the people who want to challenge Princess of Pahlavi, they are not going to be able to challenge him politically. If they might want to challenge his authority by using their military force, right? So number one thing that Princess of Pahlavi's transitional government needs to do is to recruit people in the, and making sure that also, this is why the defections from the Artesh to Princess of Pahlavi are so important, right? And that's why Princess of Pahlavi wisely has been doing that for a long time now, before any of this started. The number one three thing that could challenge the transitional government is military transitions to the stability of the of the transitional government. And that's why it's very important that Prince Reza Pahlavi has a lot of people that he could rely on that could pick up guns and bring stability. Those first few days, if things get chaotic, it will become really difficult to put it back. I am hopeful because I know a lot of Iranian people would want to protect the transitional government without the Islamic Republic. If Prince Reza Pahlavi puts out a call to action that we need people to come and get armed and get trained and protect their country, I think people would be lining up to do so. Another challenge would be, how do we know that the Islamic Republic, people who are sympathetic to the Islamic Republic, are not going to come and volunteer as well as a way to join and then cause chaos once they're in. The good thing with regards to that is that a lot of Iranian people know everybody, like anybody who has been supportive of the Islamic Republic in their life. There's somebody who knows that. Like people, your neighbors know that, your coworkers know that, your classmates know that. So it becomes very important for when people who are trying to join the first armed forces that are protecting the transitional government, for there to be a framework where we could identify if anybody is a risk.
We will try Sherry one more time. I have you muted. I will unmute you if you can get your mic and everything working now. We'll try one more time.
Okay. Hi, Sherry. Oh, now she's quiet. Oh, Sherry.
Sherry was the one we called
Al-
before Ali, right? And then she tried to
You
go
mean
during
Allah?
Ali's turn.
Yeah, yeah. Sherry, Sherry, you're allowed to unmute your mic now if you want. Maybe she opened her mic because she was before Ali on the list, and that's why she was trying to fight for her right or something. No, no. Like, I was on the list. Sherry, are you here? Okay, I think she doesn't know how to open her
I
mic.
saw her in chat recently.
Okay, Sherry, I'm going to go ahead and move on. Whatever your question is, you can type it in the chat and I will read it aloud for you because we have a long list and we cannot wait. So we have now a question from Ali Khamenei. The question is, Ya Armin, praying hands. Ya Susanna, praying hands. The discussion group videos on your YouTube channel are hard to follow. Your AI clipping system keeps posting the same content multiple times. Can you start uploading the full discussions onto World Liberty Politics again? Please add the discussion date to the video title. Can you also add a link to that channel to your Atheist Republic video descriptions? As for my question, what Islamic ruler/dynasty is the second best? We all know which one is the best.
Wait, what? Wait, first of all, regarding to the first one, can you upload it on school? I mean, I don't have the time, but you can upload it on school if you want. You could download it and upload it on school if you want. Also, was he saying that there's repeat parts on YouTube? Because there shouldn't be. I mean, we have a long version and then we have shorter versions. So the shorter versions, our shorter clips might repeat the parts that are part of a longer video. So that's might be why you're saying repeat parts. But the shorter videos shouldn't have repeat parts. I'll check with the person who's in charge of that. But on that YouTube channel, I don't, honestly, I don't have the time. I don't have the time. Sorry. What was the second question?
We all know which ruler dynasty is the best, but which Islamic ruler dynasty is the second best?
Islamic ruler dynasty. Islamic as the government was Islamic? Dynasty in Iran. I don't know. I don't even want to. So, like, for example, you want to, from all the dynasties that we have, the only one that I consider to be Islamic in the sense that Islam was used to rule in the way that we understand it today was the Safavid dynasty, and they sucked. So I don't know if I want to include them as anything good about them. I mean, any form of Islamic rule is garbage. It's kind of saying is like is a puke sandwich better than a shit sandwich? I don't know if I'm understanding you correctly, right? So I would basically have to find the one that is the least bad. But honestly, my favorite dynasty is the Pahlavi dynasty. I know a lot of Iranians prefer the Achaemenid dynasty or the Safavid dynasty, but my favorite dynasty among all Iran's dynasty is the Pahlavi dynasty. Does that make sense?
Sure.
I think, yeah.
Okay, next is my question from Mr. Gary, sir.
One second. Sherry typed her question in the chat.
Is she still here?
Yeah, she left and came back and she typed her question in the chat. Can I just read
Okay,
what she
okay.
wrote? 1 second, the chat is scrolling on me.
Oh, she's saying I'm trying. Oh, Sherry, sorry. So
The
we were
question
so
is,
she's trying.
I understand 3 factions of Islam. Please explain the difference between Sunni, Sharia, and Kurds.
I think she means Shia, not Shia.
Probably Sunni, Shia, and Kurds.
Okay, so Kurds doesn't belong into these 3 categories because Kurd is an ethnicity and Shia and Sunni are, religious beliefs, right? So you could say the difference between Kurd and Azeri and Arab, okay, but the difference between Kurds and Shia is kind of like asking the difference between a cabinet and a watermelon. So the reason why people say Shia, Sunni, and Kurd sometimes is because in Iraq, different groups of people use, their collective identity is based on either religious identity or ethnic identities, right? So Iraqi Kurds, when we say Iraqi Kurds, is not because their religious belief is Kurd, is because among those people, their ethnic identity is the main thing that identifies them and separates them from the rest of Iraq, compared to Iraqi Sunnis and Iraqi Shias. The Kurdish people could be many different. We have Sunni Kurds, we have Shia Kurds, we have atheist Kurds, we have secular Kurds, we have communist Kurds, we have patriotic Kurds, we have anarchist Kurds, we have anti-nationalist Kurds. So in the same way that we have all sorts of those people in any other ethnicity, right? So that's why it's like it doesn't make sense to compare the Kurd with Shia and Sunni. So Shia and Sunni are 2 different sects of Islam. And do you want me to explain the difference between Shia and Islam? I mean, if you want me to, I'll just go really summarizing the difference between Shia and Sunni Islam is mostly over who succeeded Muhammad after Muhammad's death, right? So the Sunnis believe after Muhammad, Abu Bakr, Omar, Osman, and then Ali. These are the 4 caliphs, are the people who are supposed to rule and be the rulers of the Islamic Ummah. That's what they believe. And the Shias are the people who believe in Ali being the first Imam, and then depending on your sect of Shia Islam, there are whole bunch of Imams that were supposed to come after them. The most common sect of Shia Islam is the 12er Shia Islam, which believes that the 12 Imams that became the leaders of the rulers of the Islamic Ummah after Muhammad's death. So that's the main thing that they differ on when it comes from the origins of how they got divided. But when it comes to religious views, there's so many disagreements there. The one that actually is the number one thing that puts them against each other is whether or not Shias are doing shirk or not, whether or not Shias are basically associating partners with Allah when they call upon names like Ali, Hussein, Fatima, and they pray to the Imams. Sunnis consider that extremely offensive and sinful and un-Islamic and the most unforgivable sin in Islam. So that's what Sunnis hate about Shias. And yeah. You're welcome, Sherry.
Okay, so next was Mr. Gary last week asked me to ask you a question and I left. And so I'm not sure if he asked this. If it sounds familiar, let me know. He said, apologies, but I have grandfather duties this afternoon and cannot join. planning to join in tomorrow. Just a couple of impressions. Number one, the opening of the massive new Mosul International Airport, July 2025, has hopefully accomplished the mission of fostering Iranian diaspora return into close proximity to northwestern and western Iran. Did he get into that with you?
No, no.
Okay. Wouldn't it be wonderful if they were well trained in self defense and use of firearms? I assume he's talking about the diaspora people coming back.
Well, can you put that question in the chat because I didn't understand it?
Yeah. He's just talking about the opening of the Mosul airport in 2025. And hopefully, what it accomplishes is fostering the diaspora to return to Iran. And asked, wouldn't it be wonderful if they were well trained in self defense and the use of firearms when they return?
Obviously, Iran doesn't have any shortages of airports for the Iranian people to come back to Iran. Mosul is outside, anyways, outside. So I don't really understand. Maybe I'm not understanding the question. BT, can you help me understand the question because I'm not understanding it? Obviously, any person. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm reading into it that it's not within Iran, but it's the proximity would allow for people to come in maybe when you wouldn't want to be flying into Tehran. And so then, in addition, those people are well trained.
Okay, so basically, yeah, I mean, if we're planning to create a militia to go from the borders of Iran and into Iran as a way to attack the Islamic Republic, that plan is not going to work, in my opinion. Like if that's what we're talking about.
Armin, we're making any
the
plan to
okay,
clarify.
okay. So that
Hush,
is, yeah.
Number two.
I think that's a good recipe for getting a lot of Iranians slaughtered, by the way. I think if we try to do that. Self-defense is not going to do anything in front of machine guns. But yeah.
Okay, we're going to have to call Mr. Number two. It seems there has developed a blind spot in the Iranian radar systems monitoring of the Caspian Sea surface and air traffic. I think that's just a comment.
Okay.
Is Khabar Bay still an Iranian naval base or a U.S. CENTCOM base? Chahbar. Khabar?
I don't know. I understand this question.
Okay. Is Sistan, Baluchistan a no-go zone for the IRGC and Besiege?
I mean, I know they're more scared over there because they have to deal with armed people, but no, it's not a no-go zone. They're there all the time. I mean, they committed a massacre over there at some point, just quite recently. So yeah, I mean the security there. I mean, that's one of the places where IRGC is very sensitive about because of some of the uprisings in the past couple of years. So they are there, and they have killed a lot of people. In fact, some of the highest numbers of people being killed in Iran comes from the province.
Okay, we're moving pretty well through the list. Next, we have Shahar.
So yeah, actually, this is interesting because I was listening to, Persian speaking YouTubers when it comes to analyzing everything is happening in Iran. And some of the questions that they're getting from their audience is why aren't the Americans and Israelis taking out the places where they're responsible for filtering the internet, right? So, or blocking the internet. And so this was, for example, on Murad Vaisi's channel. And he said to his audience that were asking him that I don't know why you haven't done this. And he was surprised. He himself said that I was expecting this to happen earlier. And I was like, I was like, why are they saying that? Like, is it a place that if you bomb, the internet comes back on? Like, I don't know if that such a place exists, but am I missing something here? Because that's what they're expecting. That's what some Iranian people are asking, and that's what they're expecting. And Murad Raisi, who's somebody that a lot of Iranians people listen to, his analysis was suggesting that the way he responded sounded like he thinks that's possible, and he thinks that it should have been done already by now, and that
That
he's
there is
surprised that
some
it hasn't.
place that if it's attacked, then the blackout is going to
Then
be removed. That's what you're saying?
yeah,
Hmm.
I don't
All right.
I don't think such a place exists. The internet cut out, like not the blackout. Like I think blackout
The
refers to
internet, yeah,
electricity.
I meant the
The
the internet blackout.
So,
Hmm.
and I think that it's actually the opposite. Like if there is such a place, I think if you bomb it, then the internet is not going to go back on for a very
Yeah,
long
it's
time.
probably
Like,
be the
isn't that how it
servers.
works?
Yeah.
Right? Like, I don't
Yeah,
know
I
how
agree
any
with
of
you.
this works, but honestly, I don't know. I know that it's devastating their internal economy of the Islamic Republic itself because they have the internet down. A lot of their own businesses relies on the internet. So this is basically suffocating them as well, but they're desperate. They can't turn the internet. I know this time around the internet is not as cut as we saw early January. So I get messages from my dad sometimes, for example, once in a
Mhm.
while. And there are some
Mhm.
people who I hear from sometimes, and then for a while I don't hear anything from, and then I hear some messages from them again. I know some of my friends, for example, have Iraqi SIM cards, and they're close to the border, and they're still online, right? And they have sometimes connection. Another one of my friends sometimes uses a VPN that works, and then the next day it doesn't work, and then he keeps going through so many VPNs, and then one of them works again. So the connection is not as complete as it was in early January. I think the connections will be off in the same level that they are right now, as long as the Islamic Republic is expecting the mass protests to happen at some point. They're really expecting that to happen, and I think because of that, they're going to keep it off until maybe it does happen. It basically depends on Prince Reza Pahlavi now, because I think until the point where he gives the call to action, the internet is going to be cut, and maybe also for a while after it as well. So we have to ask Princess of Pahlavi when he's going to give his call to action, and also that also depends on the success of the. So yeah, this is what depends on the success of the military operations by United States and Israel. So this is the dominoes, right? So the sooner the suppressing powers of the Islamic Republic are reduced to a minimum by American and Israeli operations, the sooner we will get to the point where the call to action is going to be given out by Princess of Pahlavi, the sooner we are going to go through all of these, and then we'll see what happens from the in reaction to that.
So it's either until they feel that the danger is past or until they cannot enforce that anymore. That's what you're saying.
Yeah. And why do you ask? Do you have somebody in Iran that you're trying to contact?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. I thought that I was suspecting that the
Of
person we
course
were
not.
talking about might be in
Of
Iran.
course not.
Huh? Okay.
That man is
All
lying.
right. Anyways. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, and I also just
All
wanted
right.
to say, as an Israeli, I really appreciate what you're doing. Everything. It's so
Oh, thank you.
uncommon. It's so uncommon. It's just refreshing. I don't have any other way to describe it. Just refreshing,
really?
and I wanted to thank you for that. Because
What's uncommon?
we're not used to it. We're not used to seeing people support us so much. So it's refreshing.
Oh, well, get
It's so.
prepared for.
I hope
Well,
so.
then get prepared for millions and millions and millions of us. Then.
I hope so. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Well, thank you for saying that. I appreciate that.
Of course.
Before I call the next person, a comment in the chat stood out that I need to highlight. Quote, any man saying he is not looking for a Persian baddie is lying.
I
Well, he
cannot
didn't say that.
confirm that.